Playing professional golf at 56 is already a brutal fight against time. Your body aches, your swing speed drops, and every single mistake costs you dearly on the scorecard. But for Phil Mickelson, the physical battle was never the hardest part of the game. His true advantage was always the man standing right behind him. For 8 long years, Phil had a very specific person on his bag. This man was not just carrying the heavy clubs. He was the external brain, the emotional anchor, and the only voice Phil truly listened to when the tournament pressure reached its absolute peak. He knew exactly when to tell Phil to slow down and when to let him take a massive risk. Now, that voice is completely gone. The man who helped Phil win a major championship at age 50 has finally walked away. In the professional golf world, caddies change all the time. Players and caddies usually part ways over bad putts, missed cuts, or simple disagreements. But this situation is completely different. This sudden departure breaks the unwritten rules of the sport. It leaves a massive, unfillable void right when Phil needs his support system the most. Without that specific guidance, every single shot feels heavier, and every single bad break hurts twice as much. Losing a caddy is just normal golf business. The real reason this specific man walked away will change how you see Phil Mickelson forever. I believe having family on the bag is a massive disadvantage in modern golf. So tell me if you agree or think I am completely wrong. If you want the real truth about the tour, hit subscribe right now. To understand the size of this loss, we must look back at 2017. That was the year Phil famously split with his legendary caddy of 25 years. The golf world assumed Phil would never recover from that massive hole. His swing felt lost. His short game looked shaky without his old friend on the bag. Yet, this mystery man quietly stepped in to fill the biggest shoes in the sport. He did not just carry the bag for 8 years. He became the architect of Phil's greatest modern miracle. Think about the major championship at Kiawah Island. The ocean wind was howling and the conditions were a total nightmare for an older player. This ally nailed every single club selection. He kept Phil calm when the golf ball started flying into the dunes. He calculated the exact yardage over the waist areas and picked the perfect iron for the approach shots. That perfect teamwork is exactly how a 50-year-old Phil pulled off the impossible and became the oldest major winner in history. The true test of their bond did not happen on the golf course. It happened when Phil made the highly controversial jump to the new golf league. Almost the entire professional golf community turned its back on him. Sponsors fled. Old friends went silent. The media circus was relentless, with reporters shoving microphones in his face at every single press conference. Through all that intense public backlash, this one man stayed right by his side. He acted as a physical and mental buffer against the toxicity. He protected Phil's sanity when the golf world wanted him to fail. During those early league events, the hostility was very real. Fans would shout at Phil from behind the ropes. Reporters would ambush him near the scoring tent. The noise was constant and exhausting for both of them. A regular caddy would just focus on the yardage book and ignore the chaos around them. But a family member takes every single insult personally. Every time a fan yelled something cruel, the caddy felt it just as deeply as Phil did. This created a unique bond on the course that no normal golf partnership could ever match. They were not just a player and a caddy fighting the golf course. They were two brothers fighting the entire world together. That shared battle made their connection incredibly strong, which also made the eventual separation much more painful. Surviving that public backlash required absolute trust. So, who was the only person left on earth Phil trusted with his career? To understand why this departure is so shocking, you have to look at how professional golf actually works. Players and caddies are basically business partners. They sign contracts. They argue about money. If things go bad, they shake hands and go their separate ways. It is cold, but it is completely normal in this sport. But Phil refused to play that game. He brought someone into his inner circle who could not simply be fired. This person was not a veteran tour caddy with decades of experience. This person was his own blood. In professional golf, this is a massive gamble. Think about the mental pressure. A regular caddy just wants to win the week so they get a bigger paycheck. A family member wants to win because your last name is on the line. When Phil stood over a 10-foot putt to win a tournament, a regular caddy just hopes he makes it. A family member feels the exact same panic. The emotions on the course became completely unpredictable. This family member had to manage Phil's massive ego while also protecting their own personal relationship. If Phil hit a terrible shot, a regular caddy just says it was a bad read and they will fix it next time. But when it is your own family, those words carry a heavy weight. One wrong comment could ruin the entire week, or worse, ruin the family dynamic off the course. They had to navigate the fine line between being a supportive relative and a ruthless competitor. Imagine standing on the 18th tee box with a one-shot lead in a big event. Phil wants to pull his driver and attack the pin directly. It is the aggressive play that made him famous throughout his career. A regular caddy might just hand him the driver and hope for the best result. But a family member knows the full history. He knows that Phil's aggressive instincts have cost him important tournaments in the past. He knows the specific holes where Phil has made critical mistakes before. So the family member has to look his own brother in the eye and tell him to play the safe shot instead. That conversation is never easy. It creates friction on the tee box. It creates doubt in the player's mind. Sometimes it creates arguments that last long after the final round is over. Carrying that emotional weight for 8 years creates a massive personal cost that no one saw coming. The professional golf schedule is absolutely brutal. It requires flying across the world every single week. It means living out of a suitcase and missing birthdays, anniversaries, and simple family dinners. For a single man or someone whose kids are grown, this lifestyle is just the cost of doing business. But for a man in his 40s trying to build a family at home, this lifestyle becomes a toxic trap. The golf world immediately started creating wild rumors about this sudden departure. People assumed there was a massive fight over money. Others thought the caddy was tired of Phil's wild shots and unpredictable behavior. Some fans even believed the new golf league was paying less, and the caddy wanted to go back to the main tour for a bigger cut. These rumors spread fast because they make sense in the normal golf world. Caddies leave for more money all the time. They leave when a player starts playing badly. But the truth about this specific situation is much deeper. It has nothing to do with the golf league, the money, or the bad shots. It is about a fundamental shift in life priorities that no amount of prize money can fix. The caddy looked at his own life and realized he was missing the most important moments with his own family. He had just started a new chapter in his personal life. He found a life partner and they recently welcomed their second child. The new golf league schedule makes this family problem even worse. The events are spread across the entire globe with no consistent rhythm. One week the players are competing in the Middle East. The next week they fly to Australia. Then they travel to Asia before finally returning to America. There is no home base and no stable routine. A caddy with a young family at home has to miss months of their child's early life. They miss the first words. They miss the first steps. They miss the bedtime routines that build a strong family bond. The paycheck is very good, but no amount of money can buy back those lost moments. The caddy realized that his child was growing up without a father present, and that harsh reality became impossible to ignore any longer. Walking away from the game meant leaving his older brother completely alone on the biggest stage. This brings us to the core of the story and the identity of the man who walked away. The mystery caddy, the family member, the architect of the Kiowa Island miracle is Tim Mickelson. He is Phil's younger brother. For 8 years, Tim sacrificed his own personal life to carry the bag for his famous older brother. He endured the public scrutiny, the wild shots, and the intense media pressure. He did it out of pure family loyalty. But now, Tim is choosing to be a father and a partner first. He is stepping away from the professional golf grind to focus on his growing family. This is not a story of a bitter breakup or a financial dispute. It is a story of a man making a mature, necessary life choice. Tim is laying up to the fairway because the pin position in his personal life is too dangerous to attack. He is protecting his family. The joy of a new baby is incredible, but it requires presence. It requires being there for the late-night feedings, the first steps, and the simple weekend mornings at home. The professional golf schedule allows for none of this, but this decision leaves Phil in an incredibly difficult position. Phil is 56. He is chasing the Grand Slam, and he just lost his younger brother, his emotional anchor, and his most trusted confidant. The golf world is now watching to see how Phil handles this massive blow. He cannot just sit and feel sorry for himself. The tour waits for no one, and the major championships keep coming. Now, Phil must find a replacement who can handle the biggest pressure in sports. Finding a new caddy at this stage of a career is incredibly difficult. You cannot just hire a young, energetic kid from the minor leagues. The new person needs to have deep experience. They need to understand the complex psychology of an older, legendary player. They need to know how to read the tricky greens on the hardest golf courses in the world. Phil could not afford a long trial and error period. He needed a veteran who could step onto the first tee box on day one and perform perfectly. The golf rumor mill went crazy with names. Fans guessed he would hire a famous caddy who recently became a free agent. Others thought he would bring back an old friend from his early career days. But Phil went in a completely different direction. He hired a man who is highly respected in the locker room, but rarely makes the television broadcasts. He needed a specialist. He needed a man whose technical skills could immediately upgrade the team's performance and make up for the loss of the brotherly intuition. Hiring a veteran specialist brings a completely different style that could change everything. The man who stepped onto the bag is Jon Yarbrough. Jon is not a stranger to the highest levels of the game. He has roughly 2 decades of experience caddying on the main professional tour. He has carried the bag for multiple top players and knows exactly how a winning week feels. But Jon is not just a veteran presence. He is widely considered one of the absolute best green readers in the entire sport. He uses a highly technical, mathematical system to read the slopes and speeds of the putting surfaces. This is a massive shift in strategy for Phil. With Tim on the bag, the putting reads were based on feel, experience, and brotherly intuition. Tim knew how Phil's eyes saw the green. He knew when Phil was seeing things that were not really there. Jon Yarbrough uses hard data and precise calculations. He walks the green, measures the slopes with his feet, and gives a specific number using his fingers. Phil has publicly praised this new approach. He recently called Jon the best green reader he has ever seen. This shows that Phil is actively changing his game to fit his new caddy's strengths. He is adapting his putting mechanics to trust the math over his old feelings. The specific system Jon uses requires the player to stand on the green and feel the slope with their feet. The caddy then uses a precise chart to calculate the exact break based on the degree of slope and the speed of the green. It is pure mathematics with no guessing involved. For a player like Phil, who has always relied on his natural talent and his creative eye, this is a complete overhaul of his entire putting routine. He has to stand on the green longer before each putt. He has to trust a number instead of his natural instinct. He has to commit to a line that might look completely wrong to his eyes, but is mathematically correct. This takes significant time to learn. It takes patience. And at 56, patience is the hardest club in the bag to master. Math and numbers cannot replace 8 years of brotherly intuition when the pressure is highest. This is the ultimate challenge for the new team. Jon Yarbrough can tell Phil exactly where the ball will break. He can calculate the exact speed needed to stop the ball inches from the hole. But a caddy's job is not just about reading the grass. It is about managing the human being holding the putter. When Phil misses a short putt, Jon can show him the math to prove it was the right read. But math does not calm a frustrated 56-year-old man. Math does not know that Phil needs a specific joke, or a gentle pat on the back, or absolute silence after a bad hole. Tim knew those emotional triggers perfectly. He knew how to reset Phil's mind after a disaster. Jon is still learning those emotional triggers. He is still learning how to manage the massive ego and the deep insecurities of a golf legend. This transition period is incredibly risky. If Phil struggles with the new technical system, he might lose confidence. If he loses confidence, his physical game will break down even faster. The margin for error at 56 years old is practically zero. Overcoming that mental torture requires a caddy who knows exactly how to reset a frustrated mind. Making this caddy transition even more difficult are the recent health concerns surrounding Phil. Earlier this year, Phil had to withdraw from major tournament events. The official reason given was a family health matter. While the specific details were kept private, the golf world immediately worried about his physical condition. At 56, any health issue is a massive red flag. It shows that his body is becoming more fragile. It also shows that his family is dealing with serious issues off the course, which distracts from the game. When a player is dealing with family health matters, their mind is not fully on the golf course. They are thinking about hospital visits, doctor appointments, and the well-being of their loved ones. This mental distraction is deadly in professional golf. You cannot focus on a delicate chip shot when you are worried about a family member. This is exactly why having a supportive, understanding caddy is so critical. The caddy has to absorb the stress and keep the player focused on the next shot. With Tim gone and Jon still learning the ropes, Phil is carrying all that mental weight entirely by himself. Phil is carrying all that mental weight entirely by himself. But the physical and mental toll is nothing compared to the ultimate legacy he is trying to secure. The legacy Phil is trying to secure is the career Grand Slam. It is the ultimate achievement in golf. Only a tiny, elite group of players in history have ever completed it. It includes legends like Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Ben Hogan. If Phil can win the United States Open, he joins this immortal group. He cements his status not just as a great player, but as one of the all-time legends of the sport. But the clock is ticking loudly. Every single month that passes without a win makes the dream harder to reach. The golf courses are getting longer. The younger players are hitting the ball further. The competition is fiercer than it has ever been. Phil cannot rely on raw power anymore. His back spasms are a daily reality. His swing speed has naturally dropped as his muscles have aged. He can no longer practice for 8 hours a day like he did in his 20s. Every single round requires careful physical management. He needs more ice, more stretching, and more rest between shots. He has to rely on his short game, his course management, and his mental toughness. This is why the caddy situation is so vital. The caddy is the one helping him manage the course. The caddy is the one keeping his mind sharp. The United States Open setups are designed to be brutally hard. They feature thick, rough, narrow fairways and lightning-fast greens. They punish mistakes and reward perfect, patient golf. For a player in his prime, this is a tough test. For a 56-year-old player, it is an absolute nightmare. Phil knows this specific pain better than anyone in the sport. He has stood on the final hole of the United States Open multiple times with a real chance to win the trophy. At Winged Foot, he made a costly double bogey on the last hole and lost the championship by a single shot. That one mistake has haunted him for nearly 2 decades. Every time he tees it up at this event, those painful memories come flooding back. The missed putts, the bad bounces, the aggressive decisions that went completely wrong. The United States Open is not just another golf tournament for Phil. It is a mental battlefield where his biggest failures live. Winning this event would finally erase all that pain. Losing it again would add another heavy layer of regret to an already complicated legacy. Think about the specific physical demands of the United States Open courses. The rough is often thick fescue grass. This grass grabs the club head and twists the wrists. When a player hits the ball into that deep grass, the caddy has to be the voice of reason. A regular caddy will simply tell the player to take their medicine and chip out sideways. But a brother caddy understands the fragile ego of a champion. He knows exactly how much the player's pride is hurting in that exact moment. He knows the precise tone of voice required to stop the player from attempting a heroic, foolish shot through a tiny gap in the trees. He has to talk the player down from the ledge without bruising their confidence. Furthermore, the greens at these major championships are incredibly fast and severely undulating. Reading these putts requires absolute precision. The caddy must walk the entire line, feeling the subtle slopes with their feet, while the player watches from a distance. This physical and mental exhaustion compounds over 4 grueling days. By Sunday afternoon, both the player and the caddy are physically drained. Their feet are aching and their minds are foggy. This is when the true value of the partnership is tested. Watching a master craftsman try to build a masterpiece with a brand new set of tools is fascinating. The story of Phil Mickelson and his caddy is a perfect reflection of professional golf itself. It is a game of intense loyalty, brutal pressure, and constant change. Tim Mickelson gave 8 years of his life to help his brother achieve the impossible. He stood by him through the greatest triumphs and the harshest criticisms, but ultimately, he chose his own family. That is a choice any of us would respect. Now Jon Yarbrough steps into the spotlight. He brings the technical skills and the veteran experience, but he must quickly learn how to manage the heart and mind of a golf legend. Phil is 56. His body is tired. His brother is gone, but his dream is still alive. He will walk onto the first tee box with his new caddy, facing the hardest golf courses in the world. He will fight for every single par. He will chase the Grand Slam until his body simply will not let him play anymore. It is a beautiful, tragic, and incredibly inspiring story about the pursuit of greatness. The golf world is waiting to see if the new tools can build a Grand Slam. I believe having family on the bag is a massive disadvantage in modern golf. So tell me if you agree or think I am completely wrong in the comments below. If you want the real truth about the tour, hit subscribe right now so you never miss a story.